In chapter 3, we are going to learn about different selections and selection tools. The file that we want to download is this 03 start file that is already attached to your assignment. So we're going to click on that. And just like the previous chapters, we're going to click on the more actions, these three dots, open a new window, so that we can then download it. So click the download button. And since it's already a .psd, that means we can just open it. So by clicking this button, it opens it in Photoshop. I already had Photoshop open in the background, that's why it was fairly quick. So the different selection tools that we're talking about are these second, third, and fourth buttons in the toolbar. So we have these geometric selections, so you'll see the rectangular, elliptical, then you have the freehand ones, and then you have some based on object. Quick selection will select based on the edges of an object or picture, and then magic wand will select based on color, which I really like this magic wand tool. So if I were to show you an example of what this does, the first thing we want to check when we use the magic wand tool is in your options bar up here, there is something called a tolerance level. The tolerance level determines how much of that color it's going to select, like how strict do you want it to be. So if I want a very high tolerance, if I select something, it's, whoops, no pixel select, might have done too much. So if I select this red, it selects the whole thing, but if I lower it to a good one to put it at, like a good base level would be 32, 35, something like that. So I'm going to deselect, Command D, select the red again, and you'll notice instead of selecting the whole thing with the sand dollar, it only selects the red. So depending on your tolerance, it will work differently. So let's go ahead and leave it at 32. We're going to switch though, so we're going to deselect, and we are behind the magic wand tool, which by the way, sometimes it'll be set to quick select. You just need to right click on your mouse and you'll find the magic wand tool. But we are going to switch back to the quick selection tool, and we're actually going to use that to select the sand dollar. Let's see, our book wants us to select auto enhance in the options bar. So if we go up here, there is an auto enhance, which since I am in an updated version of Photoshop, I think it might be this one, enhance edge. Yeah, so see, there's the little differences. So if you have the 2022 version or even 21, it might say like auto enhance, but here it says enhance edge, but if I hover over it, it does say automatically enhance the selection edge. So that is the correct one. So if something seems a little bit different, it's just the minor updates that Photoshop does when they release a new Photoshop. And then we are going to click or drag within the sand dollar. So we're not going to go into the background. So we're going to zoom in. So Command plus, and then I'm going to hold spacebar down and move over here. And go back to my quick select because I guess it switched to my little hand tool. So here we can see my brush is a little bit small, so I'm going to make it bigger by clicking. I'm going to use shortcuts. So next to the letter P on your keyboard, we're going to click the brackets to make it larger. Or if you notice up here, you can increase the size. But the reason I like using shortcuts is I can see it as it's increasing. Whoops. Think I might have messed it up. There it is. Okay. So here's my brush or my select tool, quick select, and I am, whoa, okay, let's do this again. Maybe that was too big. We're trying to brush around and it actually did it fairly quickly, which is nice. Then I'm going to zoom back out, hold spacebar, move this here. Okay, Then once we have the sand dollar selected, we are going to move it to, I think it's in the A spot. Yes, we're going to move it to A. So when you are wanting to move something, we need to actually switch to the move tool, which is the very, very first tool up here. So select that. And even though we selected the move tool, our selection is still there. So don't worry, it's not going to go anywhere. You actually have to deselect it. So when I put my mouse over this, you'll notice there's a little tiny scissors on there. That's because it's going to cut it out of that spot and you can move it to another spot. So we're going to click on the sand dollar, click and drag, and we're going to place it right here. And then we deselect. So either Command D or select deselect. Alright, 1 out of 6 done. And then we need to make sure we save, file save. Because remember, we don't want to have to start all over because we forget to save. So the next one, we're gonna do the object selection tool, which let's go look for that. It is right click here, it is this one, object selection. And we're gonna go select this little piece of coral. So we can, if you want, you can zoom in a bit. And for this one, let's see, do we need to change any options? I don't believe you need to. Select the move tool. Okay, yeah, so for mine, it's already kind of highlighted. If I just click on it, it selects it, which is nice. But for some of you, if needed, you might need to actually click and drag like this and then let go, and it'll select it as well. So again, it might be a minor difference because I am in a different version, but it will still select the object. This is a lot easier when there is a solid color background. So if you're trying to use this selection tool and there's a very busy background, it might be different, which makes me wonder if it'll work on this one. Let's see. See, there's a difference. It's selecting this object, but because there's all of this detail in the background, it wants to select the detail. So if I do this, oh, it does, but if you see, it kind of picked up a little bit right here. So again, it varies. The reason it works here is because there is a solid color background, so it knows what object to select. So zoom out, Command minus, and again, we're going to switch to the move tool, and we're going to drag it to C, because you can see the shadow right there. So drag it to C. And then Command D or select deselect. And I am going to save. And then the next one, we're going to do the elliptical marquee, which is actually hidden behind this rectangle. So right click, click elliptical. And then we're gonna go to this piece right here. Not really sure what that is. Plate of shells, apparently, is what the book says. So we're gonna zoom in, hold space to move over here. And then we want to draw a circle, but I want to make sure that I do it right, because there's two ways to draw a circle, either from the outside or from the center. So I want to make sure it says move the pointer over the plate of shells and drag diagonally across the oval. So I guess we are just diagonally. But see, this is a little bit weird because it's not perfect. So we can try again. So let's go draw another circle. So from the top, ooh, that one's better. Okay. Somewhere here, and then I can still move it to fit in Oh, that was actually really close. So if you start from the top left and click and drag diagonally, you might have to try a couple of times to get it right, but you can always move the selection and it won't move the image because we're not in the move tool, we're still in the marquee selection tool. So we're gonna zoom out, hold spacebar. A shortcut, in case you're tired of zooming in and out, if we go to view, fit, I think there's fit on screen. Yep, it goes back. So just so you know. Then we're gonna go back to our move tool, move this to B, right there. Select, deselect, and save. Okay, moving on to the, let's see, we're doing the, I forgot what this is called. I think it's a muscle. Yeah, it is a muscle. So we're gonna use the lasso tool for this one. So the lasso tool looks like a tiny lasso. So if it might be in the polygon tool because that is one that we recently used in a different chapter. So lasso tool is the correct one that we want to use. We're going to Command plus to zoom in, hold spacebar to move this here. Okay, lasso tool is a little bit tricky because it's a freehand selection tool. So if we start drawing, you're doing everything by hand, but the trick is you don't want to let go of your mouse. There's a lot of pressure to not move too suddenly. It says when we reach a corner or a straight part of the edge to press the Option key, so we'll see when we get to the bottom. Oh my gosh, I'm almost there. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna click the Option key. See what that does. That did nothing. Maybe the book was wrong. Maybe it's no, it can't be Command. Control? Nope. We're just gonna keep going all the way around till we close it. Okay. So apparently by holding down the Option key, and then release the mouse button so that the lasso pointer changes to the polygon lasso shape. Okay. I don't know if I want to try that again. That took a while. So we're just gonna keep it at that. The polygon lasso tool is the one that has, so right click, it's the one that has the straight line. So that's why it was saying if we wanted to switch to it, well, when we get the straight line, we can switch to it so that we just have to click and drag and then go back to drawing. But I'm fine. We're fine. We're gonna just stick with this. And then same thing. We are gonna switch to our. Well, actually, does it want us to rotate it first? Because we are gonna have to rotate it so that it fits this space. Okay, I think we do need to rotate it. So let's move it out of the way first. So I'm gonna click on the move tool, move it up here. So there's a transform, I guess, button. If you go to edit at the very top and go all the way down to transform, there is a rotate option. So if we click on that, it gives us this little box and it allows us to rotate it. So if you look at my mouse, it's nothing but rotating tools. So we can use this to rotate. And if you want to be very exact, you see the degrees on there on my mouse. So let's say I'm right here at 86.4. At the top of the options, notice that it's right here. So we can just type in 90 and it goes at a perfect 90-degree angle. Now let me undo. So Command Z. There is another way. So I'm going to go back to my move tool. There is a shortcut to go to it's called a free transform. So it is actually under edit, transform, actually no, edit, free transform. The shortcut is Command T. I use this a lot, and you are probably going to use it a lot as well. So now that you know that, if I click Command T, we get the same box, but now we don't get a bunch of rotating tools. We get these, which is meant to make the picture bigger or smaller. But if you go to the edges like this, you can still rotate it. And I can still do the same thing. So 90 degrees, return, and I can just move this up here. So there's more than one way to do this. Once you have it where you want it, you can either click return on your keyboard or click this check mark. And then Command D or select deselect. Then we're going to save this. We're almost done. And then, ooh, this next one's pretty fun. We're going to use the magnetic lasso tool on this, I believe it's called a Nautilus. So we're going to look for the magnetic, which is, I think it's here. Yes, right click, magnetic lasso tool. And for this one, we're going to click along the edges of the Nautilus. So if we do this, it's like a magnet. So it does it for you. And even though the background is busy, the fact that the Nautilus is very has very clear edges. Oh, I clearly messed up. Okay. Whoops. Command D. Because it has very clear edges, it's very easy for the magnetic lasso tool to distinguish the edge from the background. Okay, so we need to close it. Okay, right there. So make sure that you close it properly, because I kind of messed up. And then we're gonna go back to the move tool, move this up. Pretty easy. Command D to deselect, and Command S to save. Okay, last one is this tiny little bolt. It's like a little screw for the edges of this frame. So we're gonna go back to the elliptical marquee. But this time, we're going to start our selection from the center of the screw. So the way that this works is, well, first we're going to zoom in, hold my spacebar. Okay, so start right in the center. But if we start in the center, it's not going to work yet because we need to actually press a button. So we have to hold down I think it's the option key. So hold down Option on your keyboard. Click and drag from the center, and it creates a circle from the center, which is pretty nice. So somewhere there. And then I see that there's a little bit that got left off, so I can just click and drag and move it a bit right there. And then we are gonna, let's go to View, Fit on Screen. Switch to the Move tool, and we're gonna move this to the edge, one of the edges. But notice how it's way, way too big, right? So we're gonna actually make it smaller. So we're going to scale it down. So again, you can either go to Edit, Transform, and Scale, or you can use the shortcut that I just taught you. So Command T. or again, edit, free transform, right here. And we're gonna scale it down to about, I don't think it gives us a specific size. I think as long as it looks okay. So something like that. And then click return, and it keeps the, or you can click the check mark at the top. So it keeps the size. And now we're going to, let's see if we can deselect. Now with this, oh, actually, undo. Let's Command Z to undo. We want to keep that selection because I think we're going to need to duplicate it in a specific way. So let's try what the book tells us. And it says to hold the Option key. So we're going to hold down Option and then click and drag like this. So you can actually move it around. Notice this magenta line. This is a really nice thing about Photoshop. It's very helpful with aligning things. That's what it's telling you, is it is lined to the top of the other one so that you know where to place it, and you're not worried about if it's correct or not. And then we can actually rotate this a little. So again, Command T. We're going to rotate it just so that it's a little different from this one. And then here you go. And then we're going to keep doing that. So again, hold Option and then click and drag. Now another shortcut is if we hold, so I'm going to let go of Option because I already have the duplicate. If I hold, I think it's Shift. Yeah. So if you hold Shift, it actually locks it into place so that you can go directly up. So now Command T to transform, move it a little more. And then last one, again, hold down Option, click and drag, and then let go of Option, hold Shift so that it locks straight across. And then Command T, rotate a little more, return. And then Command D to deselect, or select deselect. And our frame is now done. The last part is we just need to crop this because we don't want to see all of this down here. Before we crop, we're going to save. We don't want to lose progress. Then we are going to switch to the crop tool. And nice, it already lined it up at the top for me. So I'm going to just move this. Ooh, we don't want it to lock on. How do we, ooh, that's why. The last one, we put it at a square, a 1-to-1 ratio. So let's, at the option bar, let's change this to, let's see, let me click ratio, see what that does. That still did not work. Okay, let's try original. That did not work either. Okay, let's see, what does the book tell us to do? Delete cropped pixels, and it wants us to put it at ratio clear. Maybe we just needed to clear. Yep, that was it. Okay, so we had to switch it to ratio and then click the clear button, so that this button, so that it clears, because it was at a 7x7 because of the last project. So that's what it was. So now we're able to adjust this right there. It wants us to delete the cropped pixels, which it was already selected. And then we just click on check mark. And there you go. It is now cropped. We're going to save it. Save our progress. Then we're going to export it as a JPEG so that we are able to turn it in. So File, Export, Export As. Make sure the format is JPEG. Quality is fair quality, like at a 3. Export. Make sure you put it in your desktop, in your digital media folder, which mine is right here. And ooh, we forgot to name this. Whoops. Chapter, see, I had it named when I initially started, so don't be like me, please save it. So, ooh, Seashells. So what we should have done, which I skipped that part because I thought I had already done it, when you first open up a file, we always want to create a save file at the very, very beginning, because if anything happens and you lose your track of your stuff, you don't want to not know where it's at. But luckily, I was saving it. It was just saving to the downloads file, but we're gonna put it in the digital media folder. So save that. Oops, what is this? Okay, desktop, digital media, and we're gonna save here. Okay, there you go. So that JPEG is what you're going to turn in. So I want to go check my digital media folder, which is right here, and here is my JPEG right there. That is what you're going to turn in, and you are all done.